Hey, today, guys, it's this is the 4th year now, I believe, for Dawn Day here.
I think so.
And anybody who did not know that today is National Weatherman Day.
Yeah.
And that is true. I did not know this until Mr. Fitz texted it to us today. And he's the storm chaser, so he doesn't count because he only goes where there's hail. Is that right, Dan? So without any further ado, Dawn's going to tell us how the Corn Belt's dropping out. And we're going to have all the water we need. Corn's going to be $8. We're all going to make money this year.
Thank you very much. And I honestly really didn't know there's a Weatherman's Day. I don't know who thought of that. I think it's another Weather Channel scheme, probably. But thank you anyway, and I appreciated all the cards and flowers. I really wasn't expecting it. Okay, so we're going to do what I normally do, which is we do a little bit of rewind. We talk about what I talked about a year ago, talked about my concerns a year ago, how last year went, and then we'll take a look going forward into 2019 spring and summer. First of all, this is the last 90 days with temperature. And I always like to do is kind of give us a foothold on where we're at here. And you can see along the east slopes of the Canadian Rockies and into Montana and into eastern Wyoming, you see a little bit of yellow and orange there. We've been a bit above average with temperatures. But look at all the blue. Most of the country since November has been a little bit colder than normal. Of course, a lot of the Great Lakes, the upper Midwest, Plain States, all of that blue has actually come in the last couple of weeks with the polar vortex. But from a winter standpoint with temperature, it's been, for the most part, pretty average. There really hasn't been any big extremes in our neck of the woods. It's been a pretty average winter so far if we just look at the data. Now, this graphic up here, I'm going to talk a little bit about what just happened in the Midwest with the polar vortex. But what I want to highlight here with this graphic is, has anybody here ever heard of stratospheric warming before? No. Okay, it has nothing to do with global warming or climate change or anything. What I want you to see here on this chart is all the red on the top part of the screen. The red part is the stratosphere going through what we call a stratospheric warming phase. And why this is important is that we don't always see these in the winter. But some winters we have more than others. And simply put, what happens is the stratosphere, which is about 50,000 feet up to about 200,000 feet or so, when it warms up, it expands like an accordion like this. And as it expands, it takes the cold air that's near the North Pole and the Arctic Circle and pushes it south. And so when we go back and look over time, you see how that changes? And the last couple of frames are here into early January. That's what set the stage for all the cold air to come in the Midwest with the polar vortex. And then we end up with these situations where the cold air dips in, and we see the severe freezing that we saw just east of us. I mean, we couldn't get any closer, folks. We really dodged a bullet. This is going to end up being, one of the most intense vortexes in quite a while that's moved on in. But when the stratosphere gets warmer, winters get colder. And what tends to happen is the cold tends to be on the back side of winter, not necessarily at the beginning of it. So what we are going into right now, and what happened last week in the Midwest, is really the core of the colder part of winter. So yeah, we've had a pretty benign winter so far, but it's about ready to get colder, it's about ready to get more active, it's about ready to get more stormy, which for us is not necessarily a bad thing. We have to suffer through it, but that means good news for the mountain snowpack. It means good news, hopefully, for later this winter and spring in terms of moisture that's coming.